Hey guys, welcome back. Thank you for taking this informational journey with me. I'm not sure who's driving, but let's not worry about it. Before the show, I wanted to give this upcoming podcast some love. So everyone please check out today's lucky winner.
Congratulations, you're today's lucky winner. You're dead, but you've won a year back on Earth to do whatever you want, and I'll be your Grim Reaper chaperone.
Rita, why are you at my desk?
I'm talking to a lucky winner.
They aren't dead. I was going to tell them about the show.
The show where I helped my dead human friend Dawn prove that she was murdered?
Yeah.
The paranormal stoner comedy.
Yes, the scripted fiction show that's got fart jokes, sapphic romance, vampires, and acid trips.
Where would they find today's lucky winner?
On their favorite podcatcher app. Now get the out of my desk.
You guys can check out today's lucky winner and follow Rita and Dawn on a crazy adventure. I've already listened to a few episodes and I have to tell you they're so good. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Behind. I am Sydney, your host, and I am joined today by Rick Gideons. Rick, go ahead and please introduce yourself.
Hello everybody, I'm Rick Gideons. I contacted Sydney about doing this podcast to kind of help share my story a little bit and promote what I've been doing since the pandemic.
That's right. And your name is actually is it Pandemic Medic?
Yeah, Pandemic Medic. I was actually getting ready to change that. That was I had joined Discord early on in the year to be a part of this statewide channel they had going on, and that was what my name was back in March, I think.
That's perfect though. It hits the nail right on the head. So you were saying earlier you were an EMT, right?
Technically I'm currently am still a paramedic, and there's a difference in skill and ability, like what you're allowed to do as a paramedic versus an EMT. So and I became an EMT in 2009. And then started classes for paramedic in 2012, and graduated with honors in 2014. 2014, and that's when I started becoming a paramedic. And I'm still registered as a paramedic in one of the states that I'm close to, but the one that I live in, I'm actually not, and nationally, I'm not registered as a paramedic anymore.
Okay, so there's a little bit of a process there.
Yeah, it's reciprocity, or not reciprocity, but every 2 years you have to get enough hours of continuing education to recertify for your paramedic every year, or every 2 years.
Yeah, in the AV world, we have to get recertified as a certified technology specialist, or we can take classes that apply towards credits of doing that, so you don't actually have to retake the exam or whatever.
Yeah, it's just a gambit for money is all it is.
Yeah, it's not fun having to re-up that kind of stuff.
No.
But the knowledge does change, and so does the science behind both of those things, so I can kind of understand that. Before that, you were in the Army?
Yeah, just for a little bit. I was eventually discharged honorably for medical reasons, which eventually led to me getting into EMS.
Were you a medic in the Army?
No, I went in as infantry.
Oh, man.
So
I grew up in a military family myself, but if you were to ask me what that means, like what the military is, I could not tell you. My mom did a whole bunch of years. My stepdad did a whole bunch of years in Marines and Army. My mom was Air Force. And the only thing that I really gathered was that there was a lot of stuff that they couldn't talk to me about. My mom had to deal with a lot of intelligence stuff. And then my stepdad, he was in Marines and Army, and he's kind of opened up a little bit about those stories. But do you have any Army stories that you are allowed to share?
Yeah, I can share some story. So I went to basic training at Fort Benning which is home of the infantry. And for the most part, like now looking back on it, it was a very fun and exciting experience. But going through it was not so. I mean, I guess I could say that it was fun because I got to shoot a lot of really, really cool guns and blow stuff up. And
Oh,
I
you
mean,
sold me at blow stuff up, man.
yeah, because I mean, how many people do you run into that can say to you that they've actually thrown a live hand grenade?
Oh man, that sounds so fun.
Oh my god, it was it has completely like become a part of me is my love for uh rifles and such. So
Man, that's so cool. Also, thank you for your service.
oh
Um, regardless of how you feel, you did make a difference in some capacity, and you do deserve to be thanked for that.
well,
So
thank you.
thank you. Um, I was listening to your intro of your podcast, and your main thing is about pretty much adapting to society now outside of being a paramedic. What made you make that decision?
So that decision was kind of made for me last year. I was filming something for my YouTube channel where I was getting back into skateboarding and trying to do that as a form of exercise for myself. And then the fact that I was 34 or 33, 34 now um, caught up to me really quickly. I did just a very simple ride up a kind of steep ramp and foot came off the board and did the splits, fractured my uh, distal femur, and then my right proximal tibia plateau, as well as ruptured both of my MCLs.
It almost sounds like you threw a hand grenade at your feet.
Yeah, basically, I've got it on video. Uh, I can post that to my YouTube and send a link for anybody that wants to watch me scream like a girl.
Oh no!
No offense to girls, but
Everyone screams.
the sound that I made was completely involuntary and not of my own volition.
I totally understand that. I personally have not broken a bone, so actually, what is the first feeling when you break a bone?
So with this, I was in a legs spread shoulder or further than shoulder width apart kind of stance,
Yeah.
and I was squatting, so it meant that all of my weight was being supported by that ligament, and it when it ruptured, it was there was under so much pressure. That's actually what broke the bones was the ligament snapping back, and I had like hairline fractures
Oh
from
my
that.
gosh. I am so glad that's in the past.
The I didn't think that it was that bad at first because I got up and I kind of walked around and it hurt, but it wasn't, so I was like, I should be okay. I just got to move around. I just kind of pulled something. So I skateboarded for another 2 hours after that.
Oh,
Went home, like drove home, went to bed, woke up, and literally could not walk. Like I couldn't get out of bed because my knees and my legs were so swollen.
oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That is not fun, man. I'm terrified to break a bone. I can handle pain, like dull pain, whatever, but man, if it gets to the point you can't walk, oh, that's so fearful. The worst I've had is a double ear infection last year, and I lost my hearing. I can only hear about 60% out of my right ear. And as an audio guy, that was the most terrifying thing. But I think breaking both my legs would definitely top that.
Yeah, oh man. So that's basically what happened, and then from there I was bedridden for about 6 weeks, and then had to use a walker for another 6 weeks after that, and my knees just never healed properly to the point that they were, and they weren't great to begin with. I've never been really easy on them, and from skateboarding, like, whenever I was younger, and being in the military, and then 12 years on an ambulance, they've been used very thoroughly.
Oh, dude, just the whole like story of your legs is awful like right now. But I'm hoping for the reprieve. What are you doing now that you are not a paramedic?
So, and that's the thing, is because that's one of the messages that I want to capture in my podcast, is that simply because in the moment an event that is happening to you is perceived as being negative doesn't mean that it's not leading to something positive. And that's exactly what happened, because that moment is what set in motion everything that happened after that has literally changed my entire life and given me a a brand new outlook and perspective that I don't think I've ever had.
Dude, it
Uh,
sounds like you have a book that's like ready to come out.
no, I'm in the mix, or I'm in the process of a few different things. Book being one of them. I have quite a bit of writing that I've done in and on my phone. Like, I usually, whenever I take my recreational medication out on the porch, I'll go, and usually that's when I write.
Nice. I look forward to hearing it. I'm sure we can probably do a 6-hour podcast with the amount of stories that you probably have.
Oh man, and that's why that's what like that's what that's why I decided to do a podcast, because it had started out as me wanting to write a collection of short stories from my life, and I was like, man, how many collections? And then it popped into my head, like, I have a studio in my house, I have all the equipment to do a podcast. Why not just do a podcast and see how that goes, and see how my story is receptive, how
Yeah,
people engage with it.
dude, that's respect, man. That's perfect.
Thanks.
That's why I did it. I've been wanting to be on a podcast forever, and my wife was like, "Just do it already." And I was like, "No, you got to get the right timing and whatnot." And then something just clicked that I was like, "Man, it's a pandemic. I'm not doing anything after work. I stream Twitch once in a while, and that's growing, and it's going well, and I really do appreciate my community. But I also have other outlets that I want to pursue, just because I have ADD and I want to do everything and be somewhat okay at it. I released music back in like 2013 after school. That wasn't my thing, so I had to move on to something else. And since then, I couldn't really find anything. But podcasting is just a way for you to connect to people in a time right now that you can't, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that is the beauty of the age that we live in, because we do have all of this technology that can allow us the human interaction that we crave, with also not having to actually deal with people, which is ideal for me. Because I was a big supporter of social distancing way, way before this pandemic. And so once all this pandemic started, I was kind of like, it's like, oh, okay. Now I don't have to make up a reason why I don't want to go out of the house.
It gave introverts that much needed breath of fresh air, man.
But that's also like the duality of who I am, is through my anxiety and my acquired PTSD over the years. It has really kind of cut into the amount of like extrovert that I felt that I was, because I was never somebody who was ever shy or afraid to be themselves, and that led to a lot of people calling me an asshole. But it also kind of gave me that pride that I had, that I wasn't going to let anybody affect who I was at my core.
Yeah, we're all a little bit of introvert and extrovert. It just depends on the settings have to be right. So I'm going to dig something up from your past a little bit. I kind of went through your YouTube.
Oh, okay.
And there was a video I watched called Rick's Comedy Garage.
Yeah, that was one of my first attempts at trying to that was like pre podcast when I was trying to get back into stand up cuz I had done stand up comedy prior, like I'd done it for a year before going into paramedic class. So I had to kind of put that aside, and I never picked it back up, and I was actually rather decent at it, not to toot my own horn, but
Toot away.
but it was something that I really enjoyed because I was able to connect with an entire room. I think the biggest room that I ever played to is maybe 200, 250.
Holy cow.
And to be able to make 250 people laugh all at the same time with just your thoughts is such an amazing feeling.
Dude, I bet that's just such a great feeling to have. And you seemed like a kind of natural behind the microphone, man. I would definitely go to one of your shows. Do you plan to like keep pursuing that as well as doing the podcast?
Eventually, I think, yeah, once things kind of settle down a little bit and we're not living in this Orwellian fever dream of a reality, I would like to get back into it. I was thinking about, and that's another reason why I was thinking about the podcast, because it would be another avenue for me to do comedy and kind of make people laugh, which is ultimately my whole life. I've built a sense of humor to deal with the shitty things that I've been through, because if it's all about perspective and how you perceive things. So if you perceive things as being a negative influence over you, then that's how you're going to react.
Right. Yeah, my wife has a nice saying. She goes, "Perception is reality."
Yeah, I say that all the time too.
and and while I being like the left brain dominant is like, why can't people just see this in front of them? And she's taught me, a lot about empathy and just how to like understand people even though they don't seem to understand things that you do. And it just taught me how to like not hold people to the same standards that I've given myself, because it's just not fair. We all, like you said, we all have come from different points of view, and so we all have a different perception, and there's just certain things I can't judge people on based on their reactions, because it's they didn't go through the same life I went through, and it's hard for me to understand that. So it's a little bit of a perception is reality there. What are you doing now that you like hobby wise? So you can't skateboard, right? I'm guessing right now at this moment.
No, I have unfortunately permanently hung up my aspirations to continue to do kickflips. I am 34. I cannot do that anymore, but I
Tony
will.
Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2.
There you go. No. So my hobby for about the past 3 months has been 100% solely focused on exploring my my feelings and allowing myself to finally feel them, because who you're talking to right now is not the I mean, I'm the same person, but as far as my perspective and my clarity on my issues, I am 100% a new person.
That's beautiful.
I there was so one of the hard things that I had to deal with when I was coming to grips with not being a paramedic and not working on the ambulance anymore, was I didn't know where my sense of self-worth was going to come from, because as much as I rationally and logically know that I have a lot of self-worth, I'm a father, I'm a husband, I've got a lot of things that I can have self-worth in, but in my damaged brain, myself and the fact that for my entire adult life I had been working on the ambulance, that was tied to my self-worth. So it was removing that was also removing what made me feel worthy. And I know if I'm feeling that, then that is not going to I'm not the only one that feels that when having to leave EMS or needing to leave EMS, because it wasn't a fact that I had to leave EMS, it was me coming to terms with the fact that I needed to leave EMS because it had been so destructive to my mental health and my body. But that was the first, I think, hard truth that I accepted that really kind of sped up the process for the rest of it and sent me into this spiral that I understood, but I couldn't do anything about.
Yeah, I totally understand. You're speaking literally to millions of Americans out there right now who are going through the same struggle because of COVID, losing their jobs, and me being a husband as well. Like I have self worth in my wife, and she understands that. But if you don't have a job, you feel like you're just not contributing, and like you're leaving a bigger footprint behind than what you're helping clean up. And it comes to this existential crisis that's not necessarily true, but we tell it to ourselves in our heads. And you're just nailing it on the head right now with that understanding of like I had to separate myself from that because that's not my self-worth, you know. And as a man, we compartmentalize so much
Absolutely.
that we can separate our lives practically, and it's hard for us to understand that we are self-worth, we are loved, we are, you know, we're just fine being us whether we're employed or not. And I think you have a good message out there, and I think your podcast is going to be really helpful for a lot of people
And like that was
and funny. So
I hope it is both, but if it's only one, I'll hope that it helps somebody. At least if I could help one person that is going through or is experiencing something that I'm talking about, and they need, just to be that voice of understanding, because a lot of times it isn't about anything other than just feeling alone and isolated because of how you feel. So whenever, and this is just whenever I try to speak on this, I don't want to speak generally about um everybody. This is usually just me referring to how I feel, and I feel that if I feel understood, even if it's from a song, if it's from a show, a movie, if my emotional state can be, I can visualize that from somebody else, then it makes me feel a lot better about life and whatever I'm going through. So if I can provide that kind of outlet for somebody, then I'm all about it.
that's so cool, man. I think you're hitting the nail on the head. I think you have a great head on your shoulders with it. I think you're going to impact a lot of lives, but you are also going to be funny because I mean, just sitting here talking with you, it's man, it's so natural. We were already riffing a little bit. It's perfect. I do have to bring up we were talking earlier before we recorded that you said you are a card member holder of the Church of Satan, and I got to know more about it, man.
Okay, so it's I gotta correct you because my wife will kick my ass. It is the Temple of Satan. It
Temple of
Temple.
Satan.
They are not affiliated with the Church of Satan because the Church of Satan is the Anton LaVey, that whole counterculture movement in the '60s that he started.
Okay, okay.
It's more of the temple is more of an ideology, and they have some kind of the similar tenets, but it really just kind of is who I am. I'm a very ridiculous person sometimes, and I find humor in the outrageous. But I think they also, if you check out the Temple of Satan website, I promise you, there's nothing bad on there that's safe for work, and they have a lot of good messages to and programs that they do.
Yeah, there's a huge stigma out there just because it revolves around the word Satan. Really, um, I'm we were talking earlier. You know me. I'm pretty Christian. My wife and we are Christians, but I'm also under the impression that nobody's correct. Nobody has the answers 100%. I think if what you're doing is helping people and the people around you and you're spreading the message of love, then you found something that works for you. And that's what I would rather nail into people's head other than, I don't want to spread the message that I think people are going to hell. I don't want to tell them that I have all the right answers because I don't. I used to think I was a know-it-all, and I got humbled when I was younger, and I think that's where we need to be at as just like a society, as a religion of the Christian faith. And I think the church, the Temple of Satan, has kind of proved the point that anyone can be involved and be good people in society, no matter what your affiliation is. And so that's why I was super curious when you said it. I was like, dude, this is going to be so cool to talk about. I'm ecstatic because I've never met somebody that was involved in that. And here you are, open book ish, you know.
No, I mean open book. Yeah, like I've. This
I don't want you to
is
spill all your secrets because
no,
then
no, yeah,
then
yeah,
we
no.
got to get you on another time later on down the road so we can get some more.
Absolutely no. I believe me. I have more than a few lifetimes worth of things to talk about. It's more about what. So everything in my life, I've kind of divvied up into chapters or kind of eras, so to speak. I guess that's a good. And that's kind of how I think about it. And you said you had ADHD.
Hmm.
I also have ADHD. Do you take medication for yours?
I do. Man, I've been saying that I've had it for the longest time, and my family's pretty under the impression that, oh, you're just overactive and you don't need medication. And then I actually went to a doctor, and they were like, oh no, you definitely have adults ADD, and here's a medicine for it. I took the medicine, and I'm taking the trash out on time. I'm doing my laundry when I'm supposed to, and it's stuff like that that just let me be a normal, productive person in my household. And now I can go and be like, yo, guys, this is a real thing. We can we need to talk about this.
Yeah, like that's why I get so super upset. Like I get really pissed when I hear people like ADHD isn't a real thing. It's just you just need to discipline your kids. It's like, no, listen, guy, it's really a thing. Like I promise you.
It really is. And that's a whole nother topic. And I'm going to kind of save it because my wife actually wants to talk about it on her episode, which is
Hey, yeah,
coming
no,
up this week as well.
don't want to
So
step
I don't
on
want to
the
spoil
wife's
too
toes.
much. Can't. She'll punch my toes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't. I know how that goes.
But you were saying you're a stay-at-home dad now.
Yeah,
Dude, what's it
yeah.
like to hang out with your best friend all day?
Oh man. So there's it's funny because there's no like single topic that is easy to kind of hash open. So it's amazing. First off, I don't want anybody to think that it's not. It's literally like I have a roommate that just needs assistance with things, and he's getting better at it every day. So, um, but it's one of those things that it was a double-edged sword for me because I've talked. I don't know if I've talked to you about anything. I've had a pretty rough childhood growing up with my father, and the kind of mental and emotional abuse that he put me through in order to achieve things that he wanted, and would only pay attention or humor me whenever it was convenient for him. So I have a lot of, trauma from that, and just kind of leaving it on the surface. It goes oh, so much deeper than that. But just from that and growing up without a father, I never actually learned how to be a dad from my dad. Like would I think Hank Hill was probably more of a influential person on how I parent my son than anything.
Never, Bobby.
Yeah, yeah. I tell you, Peggy, the boy ain't right.
You're hitting the nail on the head. I too had I don't want to say abusive. He was abusive in his own ways, but he was more of an absentee father. And I also did not know what it meant to be a father. I had a stepdad who was brilliant. He was perfect for my mom, but they didn't get married till I was 15, and by then you kind of are already your
Yeah,
mind is already made up on who you want to be. And so, but he did help me with kind of just having a male role model there, and just kind of giving me context clues
yeah,
on what to do. And you're right, like I had Disney fathers to help me grow up.
yeah.
Thankfully I didn't, become like my dad.
Yes, like
And I think that's where we're at as you and I, per se, of breaking that cycle, because the big problem out there is abuse is it doesn't just abuse the abuser. That abuser then usually statistically becomes another abuser, and it's just a cycle that repeats. And I think if we have the mindset of stopping that chain of abuse in any form, we get to a spot where our society starts growing better, because fatherhood and absentee fathers and fathers who aren't there is a huge issue with our society at this moment in time. And I think what you're doing is super tipping the scales, because now you're the stay-at-home dad, which is a huge like spit in the patriarchy. And it's awesome, man. I think you're not just living the dream, but you're also like molding society, whether you think about it like that or not.
I'm telling you, every day I wake up, I'm fighting the good fight because some days are a lot rougher than others. But for the most part, I don't really. It doesn't really. There's no negative stigma that I'm kind of subjected to. I know that there for a while, my wife's parents were kind of. They didn't seem to understand it, but
Right.
it was something that had been worked out, and it's something that works for us, and especially since the pandemic. I, God, I'm so thankful that I'm not working on an ambulance right now, and I have the utmost respect for everybody in the medical field right now, holding it down and
Dude.
getting shit done.
Mm-hmm.
I've never ever been more proud of the community that I've come from and that I was a part of.
Yeah, man, mad respect to those frontliners. Especially, man, I've never seen I've never seen like a disease be so divided in any society. Well, it's not even in every society. It's really just ours. I feel like the US is the only ones that we have like the opportunity to for people to just say like, "Nah, it's not real. We don't need masks." and it blows my mind. It blows my mind that we're there, but then we have these people, paramedics and EMTs and doctors and nurses, that are like, we don't care what they say. We're gonna help them when they come through the doors, and it really is just showing that compassion hasn't died.
Right. And that's the thing I think a lot of people don't think of when they think about this virus, and a lot of people don't consider not just the actual disease that it itself, but how this disease is affecting the lives of so many people. And
Yeah.
I don't, and that's why this has been the weirdest year of my life. And I can't, like, I'm just waiting for, I don't know, like the Truman Show, like some kind of, like, this isn't, like, there's no way that this is real. Is the simulation gone off the rails
Yeah.
by, like, the simulation is, because I was literally just speaking about this. Have you seen the Star Witness for the the mail-in ballot supposed scheme the other day?
No, what was going on there?
Uh you have to watch the video.
Wait, is
But
it that blonde lady with glasses?
yes, yes.
Oh, yes, yes. Oh
Like,
my gosh.
how is this real life right now? How, like, I'm just watching this and I look around and I'm waiting for the reveal. And it just, I've been waiting for that reveal this entire presidency, and it's just never came. Like,
We're
it's
waiting
never.
for Ashton Kutcher to come out and be like, "You just got punked."
Yeah. Or, I would even settle for Dave Chappelle to come out and be like, "Gotcha, bitch." Like, please, anything.
Yeah.
Can we just, because,
Wake me up.
yeah, please.
No, I'm right there with you. They're actually tonight. They're voting on the bill to decriminalize marijuana federally.
I saw that. I know that the House already voted on it, but is it the Senate voting on it?
I believe so.
There's no
It
way.
doesn't look good, but
No, not with old sock puppet Mitch McConnell in charge.
bro, I'm telling you, I'm
Oh,
I'm over it. We need, you know, the Boston Tea Party was about no taxation without representation. We need another one because we are not being represented. Like the people of the United States have no voice in our government anymore. And the voice that we do have has been made a mockery of with our elections and with people claiming false, people who are lying, people who are just making like a show out of our right to vote and have a voice in our government. And then you look at our government and you look at the people in there, and none of them have my interests, none of them have my wife's interests, none of them have my neighbor's interests. They're literally in it for themselves. And it's been like this for 60 years because for a while everybody just thought, well, they know better than me. And now the young people are like, hold up, this is like you tell it, or totalitarianism going on right now. We need to change.
oh yeah, like, America has been bought and sold years and years before I was born or you were born, and Corona, or the COVID, has just ripped down the facade and allowed us to see the man behind the curtain operating, the Great Oz.
Yeah,
That's I
no,
mean, and then you have, and see, that's, I think, my biggest hurdle to get over mentally with this whole situation is how there is 47% of the population that is like, oh yeah, the guy behind the curtain, that's not really awesome. Yeah, I don't give a shit. Whatever. Can I get my Applebee's now? It's like,
they would eat at Applebee's. It's literally
uh,
my least favorite restaurant that's ever existed.
isn't it the worst? I think maybe O'Charlie's might be worse.
Uh, I want to first apologize to my friends Justin, Brittany, Nico, Raph, they they went to Applebee's. We were doing a meet. We're supposed to do like a meetup, and I told them straight up I'm not going because it's Applebee's.
Oh, I'm glad that you also get that, like how terrible Applebee's is. So, I haven't ate at an Applebee's in since probably 2015, and
Ah,
it was really one of those like, listen, we can just eat at Applebee's. I don't care. I just don't want to have to deal with this situation anymore.
yeah.
And
No,
then like,
I can feel that. I can feel having to go to Applebee's under extreme duress against your will.
yeah, I mean it's triggering to be in an Applebee's, and then you have some guy named Brad come up in your face, all harassing you about what you want, and you're like, listen, man, how about you give me this bullshit wrapped in wet newspaper? How about I take that? Come on, Brad. I'm just trying to just sit here and not be here at the same time. Do you understand? So would you please just go out back and do just a little bit more cocaine and leave me alone?
And put your flare away. It's
Yeah.
too much.
Listen, nobody cares that you've been to Dollywood 8 times. You understand?
Oh man. All right, man. So we're kind of coming up near the end here. I did not realize it was already 40 minutes.
Oh man.
If you still have Discord open, I'm actually going to send you a link. This is something I do because I'm kind of a nerd. Before this, I was playing D&D when I got our times confused because I forgot that there's time zones and stuff, and we should probably be aware of that when trying to book a podcast. So,
Yeah.
future note for everybody: time zones exist.
Yeah. ET or EST.
So if you click that link I sent you, it should come up with a dice roller.
Ah. Yes, it did.
So you can. What we're gonna do is you're gonna click the orange one, but not yet.
Okay, I'm not gonna click it.
Okay. And so this is going to be a roll that whoever loses is going to have to eat it. They're going to be the ones that eat at Applebee's first.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I just want you to know I've only won one while doing my podcasts. This will be my 6th time doing it, and I've only won one. So I'm 1 out of 5 right now.
All right,
So
so
I'm due for a win, and I'm sorry to your taste buds.
all right, so hey, all right, let's
I'll let you
update.
go first. You're the guest. You please go ahead and roll it and tell me what that number on that orange die is.
Okay, so I'm gonna call your bet, and I'm gonna see you. So not only does the loser have to eat at Applebee's first, but they have to give a review on their podcast about it.
Oh, that's beautiful.
All right, so I'm feeling lucky. All right, click the orange one.
Yep.
Oh, come on. 16.
Oh, everyone's getting 16s and 18s. All right, here we go. I got a 1. Awesome.
Oh!
Okay.
Woo!
Oh no, the next one is going to have to be an Applebee's review. It's going to take 30 whole seconds for me to make vomiting sounds.
Say hi to Brad for me.
There probably is one at each one too.
They're
just clones of the same guy.
Yeah. It's just like, oh man, that was awesome. I like that little at the end. I'm a big ass nerd too, so.
So the 5 people I've interviewed have all been like dungeon masters, and I kind of wanted to start this thinking I was just going to interview people who are dungeon masters, and then I was like, that's a really small crowd. Let's open it up, but let's keep this aspect because it's fun.
Oh,
it's really
yeah.
easy to do. So I really want to thank you for coming on. I want to bring you back on when your podcast gets up and going, and we can kind of do like a comparison like then and now.
Absolutely, I would love that.
But for now, please give a shout out to how people can reach you, where they can watch your stuff, where they can listen to the podcast, what it's called. Just this is your time.
Okay, well, I want to start by saying thank you so much for having me on. This has been awesome to get and just talk to people and interact. It's been a very, enjoyable time. But my podcast is called Out of Service, a post EMS podcast. And you can find that wherever you listen to your favorite podcast at. I'm not sure if it's on Apple right now, but I do know that it's on Spotify, Anchor, Google, and a few of the various other ones. You can follow me on Instagram at 5011 Media, FIFTY /11. The podcast website is also, or that website is 5011topics.com. YouTube is 5011 Media. And currently I'm on a hiatus from Facebook. I've been on for 3 months, so just you can reach me at Instagram. And Twitter is set up, but it's not, I haven't fully started it yet. I don't have any of the episodes up for the podcast. I'm still in the recording phase. And I have a big interview with Joe Queer from the band The Queers coming up on Friday. And then that will finish out the first episode.
Gee, that's so badass. Well, thank you guys again for coming in. If you want to reach us on Twitter, you can find us at BT Behind. And if you guys have a story, or you know someone that has a story that you guys want to tell, or you just want to teach me something I probably don't know, you can email us at btbehind@gmail.com. If you guys want to be part of this process of recording, I do my recordings during my Twitch stream sometimes, so check us out on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays at 6:30 p.m. Central Time Zone. and you can get a hold of us there. You can ask us live questions, and it'll just be a whole fun time with the community. Thank you again, Rick, for coming.
Thank you for having me. Also, email account is outofservicepodcast@gmail.com. But no, thank you so much for having me.
Dude, of course, I would love to get you back in here.
Absolutely.
When you do your first release, let me know. I want to be one of the first listeners. And thank you again, guys, and have a safe one.
Adios.